So yesterday at the beach, my friend was like, "Hey, how's your stigmata doing?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, it's weird, huh? Boppity boop." And then today, I shared a post and I was just like, "Boop boop boop boop," about the holes on the feet. I didn't say anything about stigmata, but the girl that just commented was like, "Hey, boppity boop, stigmata." And I was like, "Oh yeah." So I came here to grab the video to share with her, right? And I wanted to make sure this was the one. So I literally just switched to the part where I thought to go. And when I hit play.
So September is a good month to contemplate the meaning of the stigmata.
Okay, freaking September is a good month. That was exactly what he said. September, as soon as I hit play, September is a good month to contemplate the meaning of the stigmata. I'm like, oh, alright. And it's just weird because I was trying to tell my friend yesterday, and it's hard. Like, I feel so I don't want. And that's one of the things within this video that's like, you hide it. You don't fucking go out there and be like, "Hey, everybody, look at this." Like, I didn't tell many people, and even if I did, like, my dad did not know. I waited until they were healing, and I was like, I had like a before and after photo to show him how bad they actually were compared to how they were at that time that I let him see them, because they were getting better. And that's like one of the things that's because, and this video right here, I just went into my history to get it because it was recommended to me around the same time that, like, I was like, oh. And then I finally told people on the live that I was on, and I asked for prayers, and then things started to, get much better. Like I said, it was like a perfect storm of stuff, but it was like all culminating at the same time. Like, oh, I'm going to do this mind mastery thing. I'm going to start taking this medicine here. And it was like I prayed, and I was receiving messages from, I don't know, like I was hearing Bible quotes, like Jesus stuff, and then I was like, oh my God, like, stigmata never crossed my mind. I didn't even know that was the name of it. Like, I'd heard about it, but it wasn't like a registered thing up in my brain that I was like carrying around with me consciously. I remembered that my mentor that gave me my Reiki trainings was like, she had a similar experience, but I didn't, like, if you had asked me, I would be like, oh yeah, she got like the holes on her feet, like when Jesus was on the cross. I would never have said stigmata until this video crossed my feed. So
on September 17, which is an estimated date of his receiving the wounds of Christ at Mount Laverna in 12/20/24.
I just want to say that on September 17th, I have my High Priestess Mystery School Teachings class that night, which you are welcome to join. You go to the events tab on thedivineessential.com, and I guess we're probably going to be talking about the, like, physical manifestations and emotional manifestations and the spiritual manifestations of your spirit and of your soul and of the guidance that comes through and all of that. So I'm sure more will come about within my mind, but yes, here we go.
So my friends, St. Francis of Assisi was the first well-recorded stigmatist. The next question, who are the famous stigmatists in the church? Well, there are many, but two names are very popular. One is St. Catherine of Siena. She was born in 1347, died in 1380. And of course, St. Padre Pio, born in 1887, 1968, of Pietrelcina. The specialty of Padre Pio is that he was the first priest to receive this gift of stigmata. The fifth question is, how many stigmatists in the church? How many men and how many women? The total number of stigmatists reported since the time of St. Francis of Assisi are about 400. I'm also surprised, so many. Overall, the vast majority have always been women, about 353 compared to just 54 men, a ratio of almost 7-1. But that ratio had changed dramatically in the last half centuries. More men are receiving this gift. In the previous centuries, women may have manifested stigmata to draw attention to themselves in a church dominated by men. They say stigmata give the individuals and their congregations a direct spiritual authority. By the way, are there any fake stigmatists? Oh yes, there are many, but I'll give you a few examples. There was a case of a young man in Oxford, England, 2 years before the St. Francis's vision. Then there is Teresa Newman, a German, who was supposed to be stigmatist but very controversial. Magdalena de la Cruz, the Spanish stigmatic of the 16th century, confessed to having inflicted her own injuries. But why do they cheat? Well, it's complicated. A large number of sufferers seem to have displayed abundant evidence of low self-esteem, health problems, or a tendency towards self-mutilation. Many have inflicted the 5 wounds on themselves, sometimes unconsciously, perhaps while in an altered state of consciousness brought on by extensive fasting or intensive prayer. Most important question, how to differentiate between true stigmatist and a fake one? Before I give you the explanation, let me begin narrating to you the story of St. Francis. How did St. Francis react to this gift of stigmata? He tried to conceal this sign of divine favor from others, covering his hands with his habit and wearing shoes and socks on his feet. Mind you, normally he would never wear shoes, even though it was a cold country. Eventually, his friars noticed the change in St. Francis's clothing and his physical suffering, and his stigmata became known. Eventually, upon the advice of his friars, he revealed the stigmata publicly. So this is how you can make out a few points of differentiation. First, the blood flow from a genuine stigmata can be great at times without harm to the person, whereas that of a pathological nature or a fake one would seriously weaken a person and require blood transfusion. Second, the genuine stigmata cannot be healed through medication or other treatments, whereas one of pathological origin can be done. The genuine stigmata appears suddenly, whereas that of a pathological origin appears gradually over time and can be linked to underlying psychological and physical causes. Finally, the genuine stigmatics have been surprised at the appearance of the stigmata. This sign is not something for which they had prayed. Moreover, in humility, they have often tried to conceal it so as not to cause attention to themselves. They are permanent. A stigmatic, that is the person suffering from the stigmata, may have one, several, or all of these wound marks. Moreover, they may be visible or invisible, and they may be permanent, periodic, or temporary in appearance. The third question, why stigmata? Why do people get stigmata? Why there were no stigmatists in the first 1,000 years? The presence of stigmata is a sign of mystical union with the sufferings of Christ. Stigmata materialized in the 13th century onwards, maybe because of the theological trends of the time. The Catholic Church in the 13th century had begun to place much greater stress on the humanity of Christ, especially on his suffering, and would soon introduce a new feast called Corpus Christi, or the body of Christ, to encourage contemplation of his physical sufferings. The fourth question, who was the first stigmatist? Well, St. Francis of Assisi is said to be the first stigmatist who received stigmata on September 17th of 1224 on Mount Laverna. I'm happy to tell you that I was blessed to visit this place in Italy. Laverna is a high mountain of about 700 feet. About 2 years before his death, St. Francis had a second vision of Christ fastened to the cross. Here is how St. Bonaventure describes the scene in the life of St. Francis. On a certain morning about the feast of the exaltation of the cross, remember September 14, while Francis was praying on the mountainside, he saw a seraph with 6 fiery and shining wings descend from the height of heaven. And when in swift flight the seraph had reached a spot in the air near the man of God, there appeared between the wings the figure of a man crucified, with his hands and feet extended in the form of a cross and fastened to a cross. 2 of the wings were lifted above his head, 2 were extended for flight, and 2 covered his whole body. When Francis saw this, he was overwhelmed, and his whole body was flooded with a mixture of joy and sorrow. By the way, seraphs are those angels closest to God, burning with love as they bow before the Most High God, shouting, "Holy, holy, holy." You may refer Isaiah chapter 6 verses 2 and 3. The fiery wings as depicted here suggest the flaming intensity of God's love that Christ communicated to Francis and set Francis's heart on fire. The word seraphic is often used to describe Francis's passionate style of relating to God and is often applied to the whole Franciscan order, which is sometimes called the seraphic order.
So yeah, that's the little thing about it. 11:11 on the freaking clock. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And I just saw a video a little while ago that was tied in, and it's 111 freaking likes on this, okay? From 11 months ago. Earlier, I was doing a thing for numerology, and I was like, oh yeah, I remembered that when you add it all up, like 5181984, which is 5/18/1984, that's my birthday, it adds up to 36. So I'm always like 369. So I had to do that earlier because they're like, what year did your life change, or what year your life will change, they say, tied to numerology in that way. So if you add up those things, you'll get a set number that will be the year that you change in some way. So I was like thinking about it, and then I saw another video that was like tied into like the messages around sharing your message, sharing your truth. And in it, she specifically said 3 and 6, and it was like literally the next thing I saw after doing that math, and like, you know what I mean, with the numerology one. Then I saw the other one. I even shared it into the Twin Talk broadcast channel on Instagram. But yeah, I'm just gonna share that because why not? I feel like they just want me to share it, so I'm sharing it. And in Mune, namaste.